If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
And we're back. I'm Chris Evan, the CEO of Survival Dispatch, joined tonight by our in-house mad bomber, Mike Sterling, our in-house CIA operative, 007, Jeff MD, author extraordinaire, and a special guest tonight, Colton McAbee. Colton, can't say how good it is to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here and shining a light on some of the injustices done to good Americans like yourself. So before we jump in with, a bunch of questions and the horrible experience that the government put you through, maybe give us, a short introduction, your background. You were a sheriff's deputy on January 6th, not serving, but give the audience some context to your background.
Yeah, I was a deputy sheriff for 7 years. And sorry, my dog's yelling right now, but I was imagine that right on time.
I was wondering, am I hearing that? Is that happening?
Yeah, for 7 years, I worked behind the jail and did a courthouse for a year. I live in Tennessee, born and raised. I upheld the Constitution. I love my country. I just have a problem with the government overreach. And that's just how I grew up. That's how I was raised, and the government tried to use that against me.
Yeah, that's a rather pointed way of putting it, for sure. So for those people who are new to Survival Dispatch News, Colton's wife, Sarah, was on previously with us. And this is a pretty horrific story. All the J6ers don't have great stories, from a justice perspective. But I was just saying to Colton before we went live, his wife is a pistol. She's amazing. She worked tirelessly to do everything she could to get Colton out, raised a lot of awareness, not just for Colton, but other J6ers as well. So Colton, I want to kind of go through some stuff chronologically here, if it's okay with you. So when you went to go to the Capitol the morning of January 6th, what was your state of mind on that day? Were you super excited to stand up for America? What was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited to go. I actually wanted just to see Trump speak. I've never seen him speak. I've never been to a rally. And this was actually my very first rally. In fact, I was able to go because I got in a wreck on December 27th, 2020. And I rode my truck 12 times. And the only thing I did was break my shoulder.
Wow.
So that gave me time off to go to the rally in DC. Everything just seemed to line up perfectly. I mean, I survived my wreck. I had, off for work, and boom, there it was. I got an invite from my friend and I went.
So you were mentioning the first judge got kicked off your case because he called you a terrorist. I mean, how do you do terrorist acts if your shoulder's busted up? I mean, that seems kind of incongruous to me.
Yeah.
Joking, of course, but you know what? We'll stick with going through things chronologically, but I want to plant that seed that much like other J6ers, Colton was treated extremely unfairly by partisan judges. And I guess, in the grand scheme of things, it'll catch up to them like it always does. So you're in a good state of mind. You're fixing to go to the Capitol, and just kind of walk us through that day from your vantage point, Colton.
Yeah, so I decided that we should wake up really early and march on down to the Ellipse, and so we could get a good spot to see Trump speak. And so we got up, we went down, and us and about 1,000 other people had the same idea. So we actually ended up in between the Washington Monument and the Ellipse itself. We stayed all the way until Trump got done speaking. He said, let's march on down to the Capitol, make your voices peacefully and patriotically heard. And so that's what we did. We went down to the Capitol, and upon the approach, I started hearing bangs. And I'm like, well, this is a weird time to do fireworks. Did something great happen? Or, am I missing something? So we eventually actually we get there, and it's just people waving flags, people chanting, singing, some yelling. I mean, you're gonna have some people cursing, that's just how it is.
Sure.
But the police line at that point in time was back at the scaffolding area. And so I was about 5 rows deep, and nothing was really happening. I was just watching around, seeing what's going on. And then next thing you know, chaos ensues. There's pepper spray and tear gas, and I got hit with the rubber blade. And yeah, I mean, I didn't see, on my vantage point, I didn't see any of us actually instigating this attack. And hindsight's 2020. I had the privilege of actually looking at body cam footage while I was locked up, and it shows that there's a sergeant from Metro, Sergeant Tal. He actually comes on the scene and starts, doing launches with a 40 mic, a 40 millimeter launcher, and shooting the tear gas in the back while somebody's spraying the everybody up front. So it's kind of making this whole sandwich thing. And then they were targeting men, like older men, women, and there were some children there. And so I saw the targeting, and then I actually saw a guy with a hole in his cheek from a rubber bullet. And all of that was accumulation of setting off the crowd.
So I just want to be really clear for our audience. You did not see anybody do any actions that would have caused this, precipitated it. It was initiated by the other side, by these rogue law enforcement officers.
From my vantage point, yes.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we are strong supporters of law enforcement, but just like any other group, there's always going to be outliers, right? There's always going to be bad apples here and there. So, okay, so now you've got rubber bullets being fired, 40 millimeter projectiles being fired, pepper spray, et cetera, et cetera. What happened next to you in particular?
Yeah, I actually I left the area for a little bit. Went back to my rendezvous point with my friend in case we got separated, and we did. And then we actually met up, and he's like, "We got to go up there." At this point in time, the police line's broke. People are actually going up top to the Capitol, to the to where the Lower West Terrace Tunnel, where the president comes out for the inauguration. And so, anyways, he's like, "Yeah, we got to go up there." And I'm thinking to myself, we could go up there, but I got a job. I'm a deputy sheriff. So if I get caught up there, I guess the worst thing could happen is a trespassing charge. So I'm weighing these back and forth, and we're actually going. He's like, "No, this is our house. We've got to do this." I'm like, I haven't made really good decisions lately, so let's go, And I went up there with him, and we got lost in separating the crowd again. He body surfed up to the tunnel, and I had to climb my way up. And and the reason why I climbed my way up is because everybody's smushing in, and we're going this heave-ho formation. And I was 300 pounds, and I was a big boy then. I couldn't even breathe because everybody was packing so close. So I was actually trying to get through the crowd just so I could breathe, and I ended up at the mouth of the tunnel.
So I just want to make sure that I'm right on this next thing. You had a sheriff's identification on you, right? Like you had a TAC vest on?
Yes, sir. I had a vest with a sheriff patch and a 3% patch.
Yeah, so it wasn't a secret that you were a law enforcement officer to the other side at all. Okay, so now you end up, at the beginning of this, the funnel. What happened next? I really want to hear in your words the officer who went down, who you helped him get up. Sarah showed us the videos, and correct me if I'm wrong, the judge did not allow them into evidence, correct?
Well, he wouldn't allow the audio in.
Okay.
And the video evidence that was put in was cut, pasted, and cropped. So when I got up there, I actually helped pull an older lady out of the crowd. So at this point, the police actually set off a tear gas inside the tunnel, which is partly enclosed area. And that's when everybody started running out of the tunnel, stampeding over each other, falling on top of each other. If you picture a waterfall of people, that's what it was. And there was this older lady that got trapped. And now, mind you, I have a broke shoulder, but I'm sitting here and I'm pulling on her as much as I can because I don't care who you are, you're not going to die. So me and a guy with red face paint, I don't even know his name, but we pulled her to safety. We got her dislodged. She kind of fell in my arms, and you'll see a photo. I looks like I'm hugging her, and then I pass her off. I tell her, "Hey, you need to get out of here." And that's when, after I pass her off, I'm standing there and I actually look over to the crowd, and I can see a sea of people all the way back up to the Washington Monument. I'm thinking to myself, "Wow, I mean, this is beautiful." And then at the same time, I'm like, "What the hell am I doing up here?" And that's when an officer went down. A couple guys dragged an officer in front of me. I was too slow to react. Prosecution used that against me because it happened in half a second. And another officer went down, Officer AW. And I said, well, the first guy went down, but I'm not going to let the second guy go down because I don't know where the guy went. So I put myself in between him and the crowd, and I was trying to pick him up by his vest. And so I played football from, little league all the way through college. And every time somebody tried to pick me up, they picked me up right here by my shoulder pads. And in training at the sheriff's office, if you had an exterior vest on, I'd pick you up right here and pick you up if I had to. And so that's what I tried to do. And for my efforts of trying to help that officer up, I actually got hit in the head with a baton several times. And then I got pushed. Another officer came down and tried to push me down the stairs. But during all this time, my focus shifted from the downed officer to Roseanne Boyland. I saw a lady in the corner. She's already turning blue, bleeding from her ears, her mouth, and her nose. And I tried to get the police officers to sit there and look at her like, hey, please help. She had a friend in front saying, she's dead, she's dead. And Officer Lila Morris kept on beating her with a stick. She actually stood on top of her to get more leverage to beat her. And so when I pop up and I'm sitting there yelling at them after they hit me in the head, the officer comes out, tries to push me. The officer I was trying to pick up, somebody pulled him between my legs, and we both went down the stairs where I tried to protect him because somebody was trying to go after his gun. And I yell, and you can see it in the video. I yell, no, stop, quit. And he tells me to get off of him. I said, I'm trying to help you, man. And, I'm a big guy at this point. So I used my tactical girth to shield him from the other riders. And so he says, hey, I know you're helping me. And so I help him up, and I put him to the police line. And at that point in time, I couldn't find Roseanne, and I saw her on the left. And that's when I went to her and started doing CPR.
So did she not die of a heart attack? Was that brought on because she was being beaten up and stressed and everything else?
So they said she died of a medication overdose. She was taking medication of ADHD.
Okay.
But she was on that for years, for what I've been told. But I've seen I've seen it. She was stuck. She got trampled. The police actually pushed people on top of her. And the fact that Lila Morris beat her with a stick, and not a baton, just a regular walking stick that she took from somebody, that kind of contributed to it. And if you watch the body cam, you can see her last kicks. You can see just little spasms. And that's what killed her. The cops that pushed the people on her and Lila Morris, that's what killed her.
So what precipitated you leaving the area? What caused you to leave? Did you think yourself, I got to get out of here, or did things just kind of wind down?
Yeah, so after we brought Roseanne to the tunnel, because we couldn't get a pulse, and that's when I took over doing CPR, and I was violently ripped off of her by another protester. And then they dragged her inside the tunnel like a dead deer. Her top came off, her pants were coming down, and it just sickened me. And so I'm standing there in disbelief of what just happened. And, I couldn't even bring her back. And so I'm just standing there and I post up against the wall. And then I get pepper sprayed. I'm like, I'm not even hurting anybody. I'm just standing here. And that's when an officer actually came out and said, hey, thank you for your service. And I'm like, and I'm just kind of dumbfounded. I can't really respond to him well. And I'm sitting there, I'm just hurt. I think I broke my shoulder. I felt like I re-broke it. It just, all the adrenaline just came out of me. And so he was actually telling me to leave. And at the same time, the protesters behind me, the crowd behind me, was calling me a traitor because I wasn't attacking the officers. One guy said, "Are you one of us or one of them? What the hell are you doing, traitor?" So now I don't feel comfortable going out because I also have a sheriff patch on my vest.
Right.
So I'm not part of the crowd, but I'm not a part of the police line. And so I asked, I said, "Sir, can I get through? I'm sheriff, And I pointed at my tag. And so it was at that point, the crowd just rushed in with riot shields. They chaos ensued, and then out of nowhere, after a few minutes, out of nowhere, another elderly lady, and I don't know where these elderly ladies are coming from. I don't even know how they got there, but I thank God they're there. After the officer protected me from his people and the crowd, this elderly lady came out and guided me back down the stairs, and the sea of people just opened up. Like she just had some kind of force field. And I got down to our rendezvous point, and that's whenever I met up with, the guy I went with.
All right. And then from there, you made your way back to wherever you were staying?
Yes, sir. After that, we left, went to the hotel. But before we left, I took my bandana down because of all the pepper spray. So I took it down, washed my face off, bleeding from my head, and I take a sip of water, and I see this lady just take a picture of me. Like, that's weird. Like, please don't take pictures of me. I don't want pictures taken. And that's the same pictures that ended up on the FBI most wanted list. So yeah, after our incident up there at the Capitol at the tunnel, we left. We went to the hotel, and then that next morning we got the hell out of Dodge.
All right. So before we fast forward to August of 21, when the Fed showed up at your home and arrested you, I'll go to Jeff first and then Mike. Any questions or comments? Let her rip, guys.
Well, I just got to say, I've never heard the term tactical girth before, but I like it. And I would say Mike has strategic girth.
Yeah, I learned tactical girth in the academy. I mean, we had several big guys, and me, I called it chubby fit. I could run, but I looked big. So that's what they called it for me.
Well, I mean, the fact that you kept your wits about you the whole time and doing CPR and protecting that police officer, it's just it's amazing. I don't know that I could have done that under that stressful situation, but it just infuriates you that you're painted as some sort of heinous bad guy when you tried to save Roseanne Boyland. You saved that police officer, and their whole thing is like, well, you were there, therefore you must be guilty.
Right.
Well, the whole thing was a bunch of bullshit. I mean, 100%.
Right. And what they play is, I mean, I was a little heated that day, especially after getting hit in the head with a baton,
Yeah.
and that's when my famous words that my wife won't let me live down started flying out of my mouth. I'm calling them, "Hey, look, you MFer, like you can't do that." And so they actually used that throughout trial and try to paint me as a bad guy. And I'm like, look, I had a really bad day. I said some not so nice words. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a man, I'm human.
Yeah.
I got hit in the head with a baton. So I'm going to say, what I feel at that point in time,
Hey, counselor, how about we smack you in the head with a baton and see if any words come out of your mouth? How's that sound?
I know a few people who would probably snatch the baton out of their hand and beat them to death with it. But
yeah. So I spent several years training law enforcement, and I didn't think that I could get a lower opinion of DC Metro and Capitol PD because they have always been a joke to us. And this was at the national level, and I just dropped another notch.
Yeah, if that's even possible. So, all right,
in the basement.
Yeah, let's fast forward to August. Actually, the period between January the 6th and August. Did you have any concerns or suspicions during that time that the feds were going to come looking for you?
So the guy I went with, he actually sent me my photo on the FBI most wanted list, and that's when I started feeling like, oh man, this got real fast. And I have my Fifth Amendment. They can come after me. They can come look for me. I'm not going to willingly turn myself in. That is my right as an American. I'm not going to do their job for you.
Just so I understand, was that picture on the poster the one that the lady took of you right at the end of just before you left? I mean, that reeks of FBI assets in the crowd, which they've tried to dispel, but we know we're there, right?
A setup,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just happen to have photographers on hand.
Well, not just photographers, but I mean, she was so there's a whole bunch of Asian people there, and they would come around and with a petition for you to sign to rid the CCP, to get rid of it. And so they came up to me, and I refused it several times, and finally, I said, you know what, I'll sign it. So I put a fake name, fake email address, and I left my phone number away. So like they didn't get any of my information, but after that they left me alone until the picture. So that to me screams FBI asset. I mean, I didn't see it anywhere else other than the most wanted list.
Okay, so fast forward to August, the feds show up at your home. Describe that process. So
they actually picked me up at work. I at this point in time, I left law enforcement, became an accountant. I had some
prior to August.
So I was an accountant for 2 months.
Okay.
They picked me up there, and they did what they call a soft approach. So whenever I try to go into work, my FBI agent comes out around the corner, he flashes the badge, says FBI, you're coming with me. I'm like, well, dang, like this is weird. This is a joke, right? Like, you do know who I am. I'm a deputy. Is one of my buddies, like put you up to this? I know I've only been out of law enforcement for a little bit, but this ain't funny. So they walk me back to the truck. And that's when I see about, 10 other guys there with guns pointed at me. I'm like, are you serious? Like, what's all this for? In fact, if you could have come and talked to me, I wasn't going to go to you, but you could have came to me. You could have sent me a letter or a phone call, and we didn't have to go through all this. And so they patted me down. And in fact, funny now, not funny then, I had my holster on, and it was a concealed carry holster, and they didn't know I had it on, and they couldn't reach it. I had it where I can only draw it myself. And so I told them, hey, I have a gun on me. And then instinctively, I went to reach for it, to pull it out, to give it to them. And that's when all the barrels came up. I'm like, oh, no, like this ain't fun on this side of the end of the gun. So they put me in handcuffs. In fact, I don't know why they patted me down before handcuffs. But anyways, they put me in handcuffs, put me over the hood of the truck, searched me even more. And then they took me to the FBI building in Nashville.
Okay. So when you got to the FBI building, I'm assuming that they asked somebody to hold you, or did they take you right to DC?
No. So I was held in Kentucky, 2 Kentucky jails. And then I didn't make it to DC until, a few months later. I went to 2 Kentucky jails and then Oklahoma. And then I made my way to DC the first time.
So this was before you've stood in front of a judge.
So I did my first initial hearing and my first bond hearing in the first Kentucky jail. In fact, I won my bond hearing from a judge here in Nashville, and he said that I acted in self-defense. They tried to use that I was a danger of the community to keep me in, and this is the same community that I served. And the judge was like, "I'm not having this," and so he actually granted my release, but the government already had the paperwork to appeal it. And that's when it went in front of Judge Sullivan, who, as you said, he called me a terrorist, and he denied my bond.
So was that judge in DC, Sullivan?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well,
Jeff and then Mike, if you've got any more comments or questions, go ahead.
Clearly a setup. It's like, they knew you were going to or they suspected you were going to, make bail, make bond, and they already had an appeal prepared before for them a friendly judge. And see, that's the kind of thing that just pisses people off, is because the whole thing was gamed from the beginning. There was nothing fair about this at all. And how many people were held for months, years before they ever got to see a courtroom? I mean, before they ever got to stand trial. Now, when you went on trial, did you have a jury?
Yeah, I asked for a jury trial.
Okay, because I know a lot of them didn't get juries either.
Well, the reason why I did a jury trial is I already knew I was going to be guilty. I mean, when the feds have a 99% conviction rate and almost, 100% with just J6ers themselves, you're going to lose. So my idea was, hey, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to show how corrupt this whole system is. I'm going to get my story out there. I'm going to get the truth out there. And then I'm going to talk about Roseanne. And I'm going to make sure everybody knows who Roseanne is. And now they do, because it's always going to be in my transcripts.
Yeah.
And at the bare minimum, 12 other people are going to know what the hell's going on.
Exactly.
So they incarcerate you in Kentucky, then Oklahoma. And my understanding is that Sarah was not permitted to come see you. Is that correct?
Correct. In fact, the second Kentucky jail I went to, she actually was able to come see me for visitation. And so she called up there, scheduled it. And the day that she was supposed to come visit me, they transported me out to Oklahoma. I was on the bus and I saw her in the parking lot getting ready for the visit to come in. I mean, it's just cruel. And I think they did that on purpose. They did. I mean, I don't even know why they put me through the process. They could have just left all of us in our hometown areas. But no, I mean, I understand jurisdiction and venue, but to put us all the way across the United States, that's crazy.
Because they are assholes.
Yes, the process becomes the punishment.
Right.
So there's actually quite a bit of evidence out there now that was a purposely designed process to cause
people need to be fired.
Yeah, to inflict the type of damage that they did, so the family members couldn't come visit you guys, amongst other things.
Attorneys,
right?
Your attorney can't track you down. How are you supposed to put on a defense?
You're right, and my first attorney was from Hawaii, so I mean I'm already out the gate. He still can't come get me, but we could do visits just like this on the computer. But they tried their hardest to not even have that happen. They would come get us late. They would say, okay, you have 30 minutes. And then, 25 minutes later, they actually come get us. So we actually have a 5-minute interview with our attorney. But where they messed up was they actually put us together. That's where they messed up. They put all the J6ers in one unit. And so that's when we all got together. We actually turned DC over on its head. We made sure that the abuses they've been doing for 30 to 40 years weren't going to happen again. And we changed the jail. So, I mean, hey, some good stuff came out of it.
So at what point in time?
Somebody in that group went to Sears school, because I recognize every little bit of that, Colton.
When did they put you in general population? Did they do it in multiple institutions?
So every institution except for DC, I was in Gen Pop. DC, they put us on administrative segregation and protective custody. And it wasn't protective custody for, from the other inmates. It was actually, in my opinion, from the other officers.
How many penal institutions did they send you to over the past few years?
I think altogether around 12.
Yeah, that's insane. How did that go over when they saw Kentucky? You were in general population. What happened when they found out that you were law enforcement?
So I actually kept that pretty under wraps until I got to DC. One guy found out, an older guy, but he was from Tennessee as well. And, he didn't say too much. He actually thanked me quietly and shook my hand. And then, whenever I got to DC, that's when it all came out. Hey, And the very first day I come in, a guy looks at me and says, "You're the sheriff." I'm like, "Oh no, like I don't even know you guys yet." Like, so, but I embraced it because people aren't stupid. They can do their research. So it's
Right.
better just to own it than
Yep.
to, just deny it.
So did that cause problems along the way, friction with other inmates, not J6ers, but the others?
No, not really. Like I said, I kept it quiet most of the time. I let very few people know who I was.
Okay.
And one of them, the last guy I actually knew, he called me from prison, the prison I just left, and I said, "Hey, I hate to say this, I was your cellmate for all these months, and we got close, and you actually mentored me because he has actually been in for 25 years on a 30-year bid."
Wow.
And he didn't let himself get institutionalized, so I gravitated towards him. But anyways, during the phone call, I said, "Look, I lied to you, man. I wasn't doing security work. I didn't do these somewhat gated communities. In a way, I did, but I was law enforcement." And he's like, "I already knew that. Without you having to say it, it's how you carry yourself, how you're confident, and how you talk." I'm like, "Well, I wish somebody would say something so I wouldn't have to look over my shoulder,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So before we move on, looking backwards, hindsight's 2020. I mean, you attempted to do some very altruistic things on January 6th. You protected the other officer, tried to resuscitate the lady who had the heart attack. Would you change anything other than just not being there?
I would change the fact that I wasn't there soon enough. If I could have gotten there faster to get to Roseanne and make
Mhm.
sure she was alive, that's what I would have done.
Okay.
I would do this 100 times over if I could save her.
That's an amazing answer, Colton. Kudos for that, big time. That's pretty awesome. So let's pick it up at the beginning of the legal process. Describe how that went as far as appearances in front of the judge, the jury, and out of all of that, the first question I have after you describe it is what the most challenging aspect of the legal process was for you.
Yeah. So in the era of the Wuhan flu, we had to do everything over Zoom at first.
Okay.
And so sometimes they would actually take me to a courthouse for me to sit in a room to do this. And then other times they just left me at the jail and took me into a room that had the same capabilities. And so it's kind of frustrating having to do it like this. I just told my lawyer, I said, "Hey, sir, if the prosecution could just understand who I am, if I could actually sit down with her and have a conversation, she'd actually know that I'm not what she's saying I am." And so we were doing this for, it seems like ever. Every time we had a bond hearing, every time I had a status hearing, In fact, sometimes the jail forgot to send me, and they did it anyways. They had the hearing anyways without me. Um, but once I started going actually in person was when we started going to trial, getting ready for that. And the process of that was wake up super early. They woke me up at 4 a.m. to go and get ready to sit in a room till about 9 a.m. to go to the courtroom to 10. And I'm like, at this point in time, and I'm exhausted. And I did this for I think a week and a half for trial. And so by the time I got to testify, I'm already like dazed. I'm already super sleepy, and I'm there till about 5 or 6 in the evening. The most frustrating thing is the lies and the slander. I mean, I at that point in time when I got arrested, I was 27 years old. I spent 27 years building a reputation that was destroyed in less than 7 minutes because of this. And so they used all this stuff against me. They used my background against me. They used my community service against me, saying I should know better. And so every time I would do something good, and all these character reference letters I had like 30 or 40 of them from people across all walks of life. And she said, "Well, those don't matter." And so when we picked the jury, in fact, this is the most outrageous part. When I picked the jury, I didn't have a lot to choose from because most of them said they were victims of that day. Most of them said that, I should be buried underneath the jail. Most of them said that they may be able to put their biasness away. And when the judge asked if they could for sure, they said, well, I will try. And then that was okay for the judge, but that wasn't okay for me.
Wow.
My prosecutor during trial said, the only reason why I went to January 6th was to beat up cops. I could have stayed at work for that. I didn't have to go to January 6th. And no, I went to January 6th to see President Trump speak, and I ended up in a riot. That's what it was. But I didn't go there to whoop a cop.
Yeah, that's outrageous. I mean, in typical fashion, the first thing that came to my mind when you were describing the prosecutor is they live by the scorecard. The more convictions they have, it's a bigger, feather in their cap, so to speak. And that sucks because for sure innocent people get caught up in that. So before we move on to the end of the trial, I want to give Jeff and Mike plenty of chances here to interject with comments and questions. Jeff, you first, then Mike.
Well, it's clear it's not a justice system, it's a conviction system. And the fact that you had a jury pool that was, by any definition of the word, tainted. And now, did your attorney, did he ask for a change of venue at all?
Yeah, so we've asked, not just me, but everybody's asked for a change of venue, and we were denied. And all the judges were saying we're going to have the most fairest trial we could ever possibly imagine.
Yeah.
In a city of 92% Democrats who voted for Biden, who are not my peers. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, they said they were the victims. Remember? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. Again, if you wanted to beat up cops, you just go to the locker room for that. That's an easy one right there. But yeah, exactly. Jeff absolutely hit this on the head. That is a tainted jury pool by any definition. And the fact that was allowed to even move on is astounding to me. And the fact that your attorney wasn't able to do anything about that is even sadder. But I'm sure that your attorney was probably also pretty beat down at the same time. Yeah, and in fact, the prosecution sent tainted evidence back to the jury when they were deliberating. And so my lawyer actually said, hey, we demand a mistrial. And the judge called the foreman in there and asked her, could you forget what you saw? Maybe. Okay, no mistrial. Come on. No. It's either years to get to trial. 2 years. It's either absolutely
speedy trial
or not. Period.
Yeah.
So much for a right to a speedy trial, though, right?
Well, let's wait. What happened to habeas corpus? Wasn't there something supposed to be about that in there somewhere?
Speedy trial, jury of your peers. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they threw the whole thing out the window.
So I have a friend of mine who was a state attorney in Florida, and he had an unbeaten record, perfect record. And he stopped doing it for two reasons. One, he got bored of it. And the other, he's been very, very successful as a personal injury attorney in private practice. His face is on every billboard here in Central Florida. Michael Politis is his name. He told me years ago, Colton, he said, as a district attorney or state attorney, before you step foot in the courtroom, you already have a script. You already know everything that's going to happen. And it always happens exactly the way that they plan it. It's just for show. He said, all of the actual, pivoting and what looks like pivoting is all pre-programmed. It's brutal. So 2 years to get the trial. How many days in trial? And then describe what the conviction and sentencing look like.
Yeah. So like you said, 2 years for trial. And in fact, they tried to give me a plea deal for 10 years with a weapons charge, which were my gloves. I had gloves on, and they said those were deadly or dangerous weapons. So they tried to give me a plea deal for that for 10 years.
Why did they say that? I want to understand this about the gloves. How did they come to that conclusion?
Well, because I had motorcycle gloves on and they had reinforced knuckles. And these reinforced knuckles were just cheap plastic. And so they said I punched an officer. And the video evidence shows that I actually pushed the officer. And I'm smart enough to know not to attack an officer.
Right.
But I am also, like, I was trained to separate myself from the threat. And so when the officer came out to hit me with a baton in the ribs and pushed me down the stairs, I gave a 2 shove, right, just like that, and separated myself. Once he was separated, I turned my attention back down to the officer down and to Roseanne Boyland. So that was my weapons charge. Now, going up to trial or whatever, they wanted to use that against me as well, saying that I glorified with these weapons. I was using these weapons, to further an agenda, a 3%er agenda, which I'm not even a 3%er, but I'm from the South and growing up in elementary school. And in fact, the officer that I got pulled down the stairs with testified and basically agreed with me. We're taught the 3%er ideology in history class in elementary school.
Right.
So that's why I wore that too.
Okay. So comes down to the jury's decision. Describe what was going through your mind as that was unfolding.
Yeah. So now in the background of going back, of doing the going have to go to trial, then the deliberations and stuff. What y'all don't see is whenever I disappear in the back, I'm waist chain shackled. I got my cuffs on. I'm shuffling it felt like half a mile back to the holding cells. Sit there. Oh, the jury has a question. Get up. Get all the jewelry back on. Shuffle all the way back for 5 seconds, and they come back. And so that was just annoying. But every time they had a question, I asked my lawyer, "Hey, is this a good thing?" And my lawyer was like, "Yeah, this is pretty good. They're asking these questions, and it's taken a lot longer than normally to come back with a verdict." I'm like, "All right, well, we're gonna chalk that as a win." But I mean, of course, they had other plans, and even though my officer said that I never assaulted him, I got convicted on all charges.
So when they started reading off guilty, I can only imagine the wind being taken out of your sails like a gut punch. After that, how long was it before they sentenced you?
Yeah, so it was the gut punch, but I prepared myself for it. Like I said, everybody was guilty. Everybody was being found guilty, I should say. And so, I prepared myself for that, but it didn't make it any less, hurtful.
Colton's had some intermittent internet issues here. Hopefully he bounces back quickly like he did previously.
We've been able to hear him just fine.
He's frozen right now. There he is. He's back now.
He's been fine on my end. It's you.
Same here. It's just you.
After the verdict, I waited until February 29th to get sentenced. And so those, was it 4 or 5 months? That was just the hardest months of my life at that point. And so whenever I got sentenced, they asked for 12 and a half years. And, that's after I denied their plea deal. The plea deal was for 10. I ended up getting 6.
Smart move then on your part. Definitely.
Well, how dare you not throw yourself on their mercy?
Exactly,
Yes.
So from the time that you were arrested until now, how do you feel the media portrayed you in the J6 stuff, and what was the most inaccurate aspect of that reporting?
Yeah, I mean, so you have two competing sides with the media. You have the ones that are friendly to us, and you have the ones that are not so friendly. And I'm going to focus on that one real quick. Those people, the fake news right there, they decided to call me a terrorist. They decided to slander my name and drag me through the mud. They, in fact, here in the Tennessean, the liberal rag, they had a headline says, "Hero or traitor?" And they want to emphasize that I was a traitor to, my country. They wanted to emphasize that I dishonored my oath when, in fact, I actually honored the oath I took in protecting and helping people. They just, And it's not just me, it's all of us. They slandered all of us. They made us out to be these terrorists, when in fact we were political prisoners. And our judges and everybody else in the media would say we're not. Why would you even think that? Well, maybe because both candidates campaigned on us. That makes us political prisoners.
Yeah, that's a good description. So based on the bad reporting, the bogus reporting, the bogus claims in court, what are your thoughts on as far as other people, the public now understanding what your actions and intentions were centered around on that day? Is there anything you'd like them to understand about, your involvement in J6 other than these are ridiculous charges?
Yeah, well, first, please don't put me on a pedestal. I've had people do that. I'm not a hero. I'm a man. I went to January 6th and I found myself in a situation. I did what any other man would do and protect somebody. That's what I did. That was my whole thing. I didn't go with a malice heart. I didn't go and to whoop up on cops or anything. I prepared myself for counter protesters like Antifa, but I was praying that I wouldn't, meet them. I'm not a violent person. I'm not a mean person. I did my job flawlessly for almost 8 years, 7 years. That's who I am. I help people. I have a helper's heart, and they wanted to twist that. So don't believe everything you read on both sides. I'm not a hero. I'm just a man, but I'm also not a traitor to my country. I'm not a terrorist. I just did what I thought was right.
Well, I don't know about you, Jeff or Mike, but I'm think that Colton's got a little bit too much toxic masculinity in this day and age.
I'm clearly triggered.
Yes.
I think he needs to go metrosexual, just, for the sake of humanity.
Leave it to the CIA guy to suggest it. Of course, I'm joking with you, Colton. We actually have friends. Mike and I have friends in North Georgia, started this thing called the U.S. Men's Academy, specifically to indoctrinate our youngins with more toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need to stop dyeing our hair blue and thinking that we're women.
100%.
Well, Mike has given up hair gel just for the cause.
He saves money on shampoo too.
Man, I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, if I had pretty hair, I could have been a SEAL.
Actually,
but my ASVAB score was too high. So,
actually, that's not the truth. He uses a lot of shampoo, and every time he washes his hair, it shrinks, and this is what you end up with.
Actually, the hair's for the hair on his back.
Yeah. My hair is performing a reenactment of the first phase of the Korean War. It's all retreating south.
I was going to say we're flying south for the winter.
Yeah, by the time I hit 60, I'm going to look like a hobbit. It's all going to be on my feet.
You're not 60?
Too much.
Are you sure?
Too much information. So moving on to the next part, as far as the impact on your life and Sarah's as well. I mean, obviously you're going to have a change in professions, probably. Hopefully you can get that squared away. Actually, we didn't discuss that on camera. Let our audience know what you're facing right now, challenge-wise, as far as finding employment.
Yeah, so it's the government took my ability away to go back into law enforcement. And so I have to do a whole career change. And it's a lot harder than I actually thought it would be. I've been applying left and right, and I can't find anything. And in fact, I still have the felon record, even though I was pardoned. That doesn't get rid of the record itself. That just, says I'm out and my sins have been wiped away, So I'm trying to find a career. My wife is working super, super hard to provide, for us. And, I don't mind her working. I don't mind her making more money than me. I just want to feel like I'm a man again and actually provide for my family. I don't care if it's $1. I don't care if it's $1 million, as long as I'm working for it. That's what I want. I'm also running into problems with restoration of my rights. I've called several, Tennessee officials. I've called Blackburn's office. I've called Burchett's office, Ogles' office, and I'm just getting the runaround. We'll see what we can do for you, or hey, you need to call this person over here. And so without the restoration of my rights, I can't carry. I can't vote. My civil liberties are gone. I'm not according to Tennessee, I'm not a full Tennessean yet until I get all of my rights back. And in order to get my rights, I have to get my gun rights back first. And then everything else will fall into place, which is totally ridiculous. But I'm pardoned. Give me my rights.
So, stupid question. I'm sure one of the three of you can answer this. But is there any point in time where you can petition to have your record expunged? Or that's just a non-possibility? Jeff, I would figure you might know out of everybody.
I don't know, but it should be. I mean, he should be able to go out and buy a gun tomorrow, because a pardon is a pardon. A full pardon is a full pardon. He should be able to go out and register to vote tomorrow as well. Now I can see, okay, it's in a system and someone has to go through there and delete it from the database, but that's a 2-minute operation. This is, he should be almost suing them. If he goes down to register to vote and they won't let him, sue him. They're violating your right as a United States citizen.
So I actually ran into some of this kind of stuff, and it took me a while to fix a few of these things. But the problem with the system, NICS in particular, is that there are certain crimes in the system that it is only a one-way street. The stuff is only meant to be uploaded, and it cannot be removed from the system. I mean, I'm still sitting here. I have a deserter charge in NICS. Now it's got a cover sheet on it. That's the only thing that they could do. They could put a cover sheet on it and say, nope, but every time I get pulled over, every time I go to get my gun renewed, everything like that. Yep. They got to read the cover sheet. Oh, yep. Okay. Erroneous charge. Good. But yeah, the only thing that you can do is get that expunged. And until the Hoover building gets expunged, it's not going to happen. They're not going to allow that because they keep their finger on that thing. And until they get cleaned out, they ain't going to allow it.
You need to call Elon and Cash.
There you go.
Or we could call somebody that we know in Barbados. Bahamas. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
So I want to just make a quick comment based on some of the comments I'm seeing in the chat. So everything's aggregated here. Colton, you should be able to see it to the side as well from all these different platforms. But there's lots of people saying, what's he talking about? I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to do that. There's a lot of shades of gray in this world. Very few things are black and white, and the plural of anecdote is not data. So whatever your experience is doesn't mean that everybody else's experience is identical, especially since we have 50 autonomous states, unlike other countries where their federal government sets the tone across the board. So I would encourage people in the audience to keep that in mind. Just because your experience was different doesn't mean everybody's experience is exactly the same as yours. Shades of gray. Okay, so next one, Colton. Have you been leaning on any support systems, resources, anything like that since you got out to, get yourself stabilized?
Yeah.
I don't mean stabilized mentally. I mean, back on good footing sort of thing.
Yeah, of course, I've got my in-laws and I've got my wife. I've got her family. My family decided to just, pack up and run as soon as I got convicted, or actually not even that, as soon as I got arrested. And so did my friends and colleagues that I worked with. I haven't even heard back from them yet. And so I've been relying on my wife and her family. And of course, I have some mentors that I've met along the way through some other contacts. And so I'm bouncing ideas off of them, and I'm getting, positive mental, attitude put into me through them. But the thing that prison actually did the most for me was actually grow my relationship with God. And I know a lot of people say that a lot of people go to jail and find God. I already knew God. I just got closer to God because that's all I had inside. I mean, they stripped everything away from me. I lost everything except for my in-laws and my wife. I'm grateful for them. But during solitary confinement, during all the diesel therapy, it was just me and God, and that's who I had to talk to. And, I pray daily, all the time now. And I'm not trying to be, shove it down anybody's throat. It's just, that's me now. I enjoy actually talking to him, and that helps me out a lot too.
Yeah, that's good, Colton. So, future plans. I mean, right now you've got to get your rights restored before you can, do certain things. Lots of jobs won't, you can't pass for them if you have the record, et cetera, et cetera. Is there a particular area that you want to get into, both for gainful employment as well as on the advocacy side?
Yeah, I would. I'm looking into the security field, private VIP security, but I got to get my gun rights, and then I have to get a license, which I'm working on. So that as a career field, I am thinking about it. I have been doing some public speaking events. I'm not the best speaker, but with every little bit, I'm getting better. And then I would actually like to start doing some advocacy for prison reform or judicial reform, and actually do something for the mental health crisis in law enforcement, because it's so stigmatized. If you have mental health, you got to put down your shield and badge or your shield and gun. And so it's like, we don't have to do that. We don't have to go that route. We can actually sit there and talk to somebody. I saw something on the internet today called Battle Buddy Response Team. I think that's the coolest idea. Call somebody to help you if you have a crisis. And it's going to be completely anonymous. It's going to be completely, just between you and I. And I'm not going to steal their idea or steal their name, but I mean, it's just, that's kind of a route that I was thinking forever. And they gave me kind of a thing to build on top of.
Okay, so just a couple quick thoughts before we move on to the next piece. We have a friend, Major Michael Hall, who works with Lieutenant Colonel Doc Pete Chambers. Doc Pete was a Green Beret for 39 years. He left the Army because they were going to force him to take the shot, and being a doctor, he refused to do that. They also wanted him to administer it to a bunch of his troops. He said, "I'm not doing it." And so he started this thing called the Remnant Ministry in Texas. And they started out with 3 specific lines of effort. So one, Doc and his family have been farmers forever and a day. So he started patrolling the border, one horse and his dog, gathering intel, whether it be illegals coming across, drones dropping drugs, all that kind of stuff. He didn't do any interdiction. He would relay that intel to Texas DPS. Then they started getting into child sex trafficking interdiction. And that's obviously something that's close to all of our hearts, needs to stop. Then the third thing that they added was helping other people get ministries off the ground. Then the fourth line of effort, which they're very active in right now, is hurricane relief in West North Carolina. Major Mike Hall is a pilot as well, so he's been flying in and out with choppers, getting stuff to people that they can't get any other way because the roads and bridges are gone, essentially. So Mike Hall owns a company called Crossfire Training in Texas. And he has a program where you can get certified as an armed security guard over the internet, a couple phone interviews, that sort of stuff. And he's ramping it up right now, something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of just yet. Doc Pete is on the cusp of this mass deportation. He's very involved. And as you would know, coming from law enforcement, just for argument's sake, we have somewhere between 30 and 50 million illegals. It's somewhere in that range. And we only have 660,000 law enforcement agents. So buttressing that with the military at the border is obviously going to help a lot. But whether it's CBP, ICE, DEA, your local agency, up to the FBI, it's 660,000 people. So one of the ways that they're going to deal with that manpower shortage as they ramp things up, military veterans, retired law enforcement, and licensed armed guards are going to be able to participate in some capacity. So the first two, the military and law enforcement, the way it was communicated to me, they would not be doing interdiction, but they would be given marked or unmarked cars to gather intel. So extra eyes and ears, and because they're trained professionals, they know what to look for, like yourself. But the people who are licensed armed security guards will actually be participating at some point in these mass deportations. And the way they're going to do that, by the way, is steal a page out of the Democrat playbook. So as we've seen with USAID, and we knew this was going on, they take our tax dollars, they give it to an NGO. The NGO facilitates all of these people invading our country on our tax dollars, right? So Tom Homan and his group have got some NGOs lined up where they're going to send money to these NGOs. The NGOs are going to hire licensed armed security guards, and they're going to provide extra manpower to get these people out of our country. So long story short, I already told you a couple other introductions that I want to make for you, but I'm going to introduce you to Major Mike Hall as well. He's a super guy. He's a good old boy from Texas and got a big heart. I think you'll hit it off with him, and there might be some path forward for you with him. And Mike and Jeff know him, so
oh yeah,
he's a character.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mike will take care of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, super guy. Okay, so I had this stuff like, rehabilitation, future plans, like what steps are you taking? You've already mentioned that. Now you mentioned your plans moving forward. So I guess the next one is, what are your thoughts on how? Well, actually, let me back up and just make a quick statement. So as you were describing your fellow J6ers and the stigma that's attached to y'all, I'm going to throw out a theory here, conspiracy theory, whatever, that some of the problems that y'all are having, getting your records cleared to the point where you can buy firearms and vote and all that stuff, I would be willing to bet is predicated on the other side, the Obama side, stigmatizing y'all to the point and portraying you as enemies of the state. And you've got people have bought in 100% on that, and they think that J6 was an insurrection to overthrow the government. They think that half a dozen cops were killed by protesters. And I mean, in simple terms, they've had their brains turned to shit by propaganda. But it seems to me that those people are probably playing a pretty significant role in various levels of government and society to thwart you guys who are tagged with this J6, almost like being a leper of sorts, is just my thoughts on that. So that leads into my next question. How do we fix the way that you and other J6ers were unjustly treated? And the follow-up to that, if you want to answer it at the same time, there's a lot of stories coming out of that DC gulag that there were some really bad guards in there that have done some really bad things to J6ers as far as assaulting them. And if you feel that you have anything you want to share on that, that'd be great. If you don't, that's okay too. It's your call, Colton.
Yeah, first, I just want to point out, we were canceled by companies before we were even convicted. I got dropped from my bank. They froze my assets. I could put money in, but my wife couldn't take any money out to pay for the bills, pay for the mortgage. So they did that. We have a guy named Gabriel Garcia, a veteran, who before he was convicted got denied his VA rights, and he's going to get there now, trying to get it back now, and he can't get that because he's still on the terrorist watch list. He's not even allowed to go back into a military base right now. So we're dealing with that kind of stuff. People canceling us, people with the stigmatization of, oh, you're a terrorist. I mean, all you have to do is go on X and see. I mean, they still hate us. But,
quick comment on the stigmatism, though, because somebody made a comment, stigma only sticks on the previous administration. That's a very myopic view, and that is not correct. At the federal government level, it's the previous administration, but you have layers of bureaucracy at the federal, state, and county level. You have politicians that are at the federal level. Just think some of the clowns in Congress. So that stigma that they put on you is not just the Biden, we call it the Biden admin because it was Obama's third term. But come on, guys, our audience is typically way more astute and smarter than, being myopic and pigeonholing stuff. This is not a black or white world. There's a gazillion shades of gray. And sorry, I'll turn it back over to you there. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to catch that before it rolled off the screen.
Yeah, well, it's not even just Democrats or the Biden regime. It's some Republicans in office still that don't like us either. Yeah. In fact, a lot of them actually used us as a photo op. And then after we, did the photo op with them, they just left us high and dry. My own senator, Marsha Blackburn, does not care about me. In fact, my wife has tried to reach out to her several times while I was inside and outside now. And she ignored my wife. She said that there was a January 6th committee that could help me out. That's the same one that Pelosi put on. So, I mean, it's on both sides. But yes, in order to help us, people like us, if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, I mean, we need to have, I hate to say it, actually, I love to say it. We need to have our own marketplace. We need to have people who want to get there and be uncancelable. We've got to sit there and have people stand up for freedoms. And it doesn't matter what you believe in other than the Constitution. What's right? That's what you need to do. Politics shouldn't play into it. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to a marketplace where we can sit there and, shop freely. And if I have a MAGA hat on, or somebody has a Build Back Better hat on, it shouldn't matter. I mean, if you're wearing a Kamala shirt, I'm still going to question the hell out of you. But I mean, it's here or there. But we need to do that, and then we need, with the COs, the officers inside the jail. Yeah, there's some abuse. There was actually a lot of abuse. I got told, actually, a lot of us got told that they wish we were in general population in DC so Black Lives Matter could stab us to death. We got taunted. We got threatened. I got sprayed for not wearing a COVID mask, and I was going to take my medication anyways. I didn't need a mask. But I have a lawsuit with the jail there, so I'm not going to say anything further with that. So there's just a lot of abuses of power, a lot of racism towards us. And this is, quite frankly, the first time I really, truly, was on the receiving end of racism. I've seen it. I've seen people be racist left and right. And yeah, it sucks. You hate me because I'm white. They hated me because I was a white Republican Christian straight male. Yes. And the officers that were, looking after us, they were Black, they were gay, they were Democrat. A lot of them were Muslim. And I'm not saying the religion had anything to do with it, but I'm just giving you the facts. The demographics are so different. So yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be in a place, especially in America, where officers inside the jail get off on the idea of abusing other people. I didn't do that when I was in jail. I didn't sit there and, abuse other people. It shouldn't happen. The punishment is you being away from your people, from your family. Anything that I do as an officer after that is extracurricular and cruel and unusual punishment.
So some people have heard me allude to this, and I'm going to mention it because you brought up the term, marketplace, somewhere where you can exercise your freedom of speech, not be stigmatized, all of those things. So a good friend of mine, Todd Callender, has engaged my team to build the next generation social media site. So again, I come from big tech, right? And we've got somewhere around 60 beta testers on it right now. We're going to do a hard launch on February the 26th. It's called Liberty Club. No censorship other than no porn and nothing illegal. And the whole thing is actually predicated, Colton, on all of the things that you just mentioned. And this is what it looks like, the front page right now. And it's specifically freedom of speech for all people. And this is on a development server. So I'm going to send you an invite, and you can be, one of the first 100 people who are immersed in it. We're in the process of porting 1.5 million people off of Cloud Hub onto this new social media platform. So we hit the ground running. But let's see here. This is what it looks like once you're logged in. And this is going to be a great community. This is all offshore, by the way. So it's not here in America, so that nobody can raid it. When I was with Sun, you'll get a kick out of this. We had this one customer who used to come back every 9 months or so and buy $50 to $100 million in servers from us. And there's your episode right now, by the way. If I hit play, unfortunately, the sound would feedback, but we're broadcasting live to Liberty Club as well. So anyway, that company was based in California. The feds would bust them for porn. So this is late 90s, early 2000s. They made so much money. They'd be like, yeah, send us another $70 million in servers. And this happened multiple times. Then they ended up in Vancouver. They left the country. But then the Canadian law enforcement caught up with them. And they were like, yeah, we're going offshore in another country. We need another $100 million in servers. But they didn't even break a sweat. They were making so much money off of it. It was crazy, crazy stuff. Anyway, I'll get out of that rabbit hole, move on to the next one. Community and family. So you already kind of touched on this with your own personal family. Without Sarah being here and without, saying anything you don't want to say, I mean, what's the effect been on Sarah over these past few years? It's got to be awful.
Yeah, it was hard. It was the hardest thing she could ever do. And I put her in a really bad place. Not intentionally, obviously, but that's what my actions did. So she had to pick up the slack. She had to sit there and pick up more jobs. She had to sit there and try to make more money so she can survive in out here while I was trying to survive in there. Phone calls aren't cheap. Commissary isn't cheap. I have to buy my own hygiene and clothes. I had to buy, and supplement some food because there's a lot of food that's inedible in prison. And so she had to sit there and just rise up to the occasion. And I mean, I'm thankful for her. I tell her that. And, sometimes it's harder on some days than it is the other days. And, now that I'm out, I can actually see what happened. We both lost a lot of weight, and I don't know if it's a stress or not, but there's a reason why I'm wearing a hat. My hair's turning gray, I'm only 31, but it's I didn't start stressing until I actually got to prison.
You still have hair, so don't
gray hair is still hair, man.
Yeah.
This all fell out when I was 21, so.
Oh, bless your heart.
Wait, that's Southern for, oh God, you're a moron. I know that.
Yeah, I caught that. Yeah, it's cool.
I
am. How bright can I be?
I know.
That's too funny. Colton, correct me if I'm wrong, but you and Sarah have been together since high school. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing in this day and age, essentially.
Yeah.
So advice, would you have any messages or advice for anybody who wants to participate in public demonstrations?
Oh, I got tons of advice. I'll just leave it with this though. Don't believe your friends, don't blindly follow them because my friend turned me in. And then don't do anything stupid. Simple.
So we've got a friend, Keith Graves, and Mike and him served in the Army way back when together. And we were just with him at SHOT Show in Vegas named Keith Graves. And golly, here my sometimer's just kicking and I lost my dang train of thought. I should have written it down. It'll come back to me in a minute here.
So Colton, I have a quick question for you if you don't mind while Chris is trying to get his head screwed
No,
back.
I got it right. Keith was invited to J6. 10 retired cops, including him. He got a bad gut feeling. He's the only one of the 10 who didn't go, and all 9 of them ended up in prison until they were just released.
Well, he can't go. He's the chief of River City Police Department.
Do you know who River City Police is by chance, Colton? It's a spoof thing out of California.
Completely fictitious.
Yeah, he just came out. He's got a huge following amongst law enforcement. But did you have something else, Mike, that you wanted to throw in there?
Yeah, actually, Colton, I wanted to ask you. We talked a lot about how the staff were there at all the places that you were incarcerated. What about? I mean, you were in general population. How did it go with them? Not from the point of view having been a Leo at some point, but from the point of view of you being a J6er. How were people treated from that point of view?
Well, you remember how I said don't put me on a pedestal? Well,
Right.
that's exactly what they did. They shook my hand. They asked for autographs. They asked for pictures. I was the most famous person they never heard of, and it was very weird to me that I would have a 60-year-old man come up to me and says, "I look up to you." I'm like, I didn't do anything. He said, "No, you did. You stood your ground. You stood for what's right." I'm like, well, I mean, when you put it that way, yeah, but I mean, that's how they viewed me. I don't know about the other guys in prison, but that was my experience.
I mean, at least I didn't call you El Chapo and offer to give you facial tattoos. So that's a plus. But I mean, that's that it does still say something.
in case you haven't noticed, Colton, Mike's a very special individual.
Special.
As in special education special.
Short bus special.
Yeah.
That kind
Window
of special.
I have one more question for you, Colton.
Yes, sir.
If a Democrat finds their way back into power and goes on a rampage, do you have any concerns about that they would come after J6ers in other ways? Obviously, they can't try you twice for the same stuff, but we've seen how dirty the deep state is as far as targeting people and screwing them over. Any concerns going forward that we get another, like Obama's fourth term?
Well, I think there's always going to be concern, but I'll just leave them a message myself. First, it cost them the election putting us in prison. Second, the American people spoke. They're not going to have this crap again. And we're not going to allow it to happen again. And we're not going to be political prisoners on American soil ever again.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So before we dismiss Colton and move on to chapter 2, Jeff, final words, then Mike.
Yeah, one quick thing when it comes to defending yourself, just remember what G. Gordon Liddy said when someone asked him, they said, "You're a convicted felon, you can't have any guns." He goes, "Yes, this is true, but Mrs. Liddy has about 50 in the garage."
Exactly. My wife has a pretty collection right now.
Good for her. We support that 100%. Mike, parting thoughts.
Colton, hang in there, man. If there's anything that we can do for you, absolutely. We're here to help. Not going to put you up on a pedestal or anything, but you know what? Props to you, dude. You did stand your ground.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you suffered for it, and that sucks.
Yeah, that's an understatement. So, Colton, when we wrap up here, the rest of us wrap up, I'll have some email introductions out to you. If there's anything we can help with, just let us know. If you get involved in the advocacy side, please let us know. We'd love to help you get the word out on anything like that. And I appreciate it. This has been very educational for all of us.
Thank you. And if anybody wants to catch up with my story, my wife's updated it on her website, Sarah McAbee. That's Sarah with an H, SarahMcAbee.us. And you can see everything that I've been through and everywhere I've been, and the timeline that I went from my day of arrest to the day I got out.
And tell her we said hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Will do.
Yeah, 100%. So SarahMcAbee.us, SarahMcAbee.us. All right, Colton, I really appreciate your time being here. We wish you the best luck going forward and look forward to speaking to you the next time.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Short message from one of our sponsors, Sawyer Products.
The Sawyer Mini is the most versatile personal filtration system available. It's a perfect solution for backpacking, hiking, hunting, fishing, scouting, international travel, and emergency preparedness. At a mere 2 ounces, the Mini fits in the palm of your hand and can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water from any freshwater lake, river, or stream. The Sawyer Mini has a 0.1 micron absolute pore size. It was tested to 10 million parts of bacteria and 1 million parts of protozoa without a single breakthrough. This is the highest level filters can be tested to, so we're confident these are the highest rates of filtration available.
All right, so moving into some headline news here. The first one up, not sure if y'all caught this. Let me get there we go, get the headline in there. Mike, did you happen to catch this by chance, that Secret Service shot down a drone that was following Trump in Butler, PA?
Oh, no.
So the most interesting part of this, and this is a topic that's close to all of us here at Survival Dispatch, is they shut it down with some sort of, or shot it down, I should say, some sort of electromagnetic
drone gun.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Best way to do it.
Yeah. Of course, now the Democrats are probably going, "Hey, wait a minute, that was ours."
Yeah, I've just seen it. There we go, right there. Electromagnetic weapon right there. So while on campaign in Pennsylvania, where Trump was almost assassinated by a gunman, a drone began following the Trump motorcade, prompting a Secret Service agent to shoot it down with an electromagnetic weapon. So that's the first that I've seen anybody domestically here use essentially an EMP style of weapon. Thought it was rather interesting. Next one up here, blistering message from Border Czar Tom Homan and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem with regards to the mass deportations.
For the millions of illegal aliens who have been released in this country in violation of federal law, you're going home. These are gang members. These are the ones carrying fentanyl across the border. And these are people from terrorist-related countries.
We're going to hammer away and make sure that we clean up our streets and give American people back the country.
Public safety threats and national security threats, they're first. We will not let you prevent us from saving the American communities from illegal alien crime because American people demand it.
So did you guys, I think we got a tab coming up, but did you all catch the thing where some lady at FEMA disregarded Trump's orders and sent out $59 million to house illegals in luxury hotels?
I hope she's unemployed now.
I looked, I don't know, I want to say maybe around 4 p.m. Eastern time today, and didn't see that she'd been, laid off or put on leave or anything like that, but I hope she loses her job and then some. I mean, Jeff, you probably know the answer to this. What happens to a civil servant like that who directly disobeys an executive order that's applicable to that agency? Is it criminal? Is it just grounds for dismissal? Like what can come out of that?
It's not criminal because an executive order is not a law, but it is, it's like you're at work and your boss tells you to do something and you don't do it, or you do the opposite, you get your ass fired summarily. And depending on where she is, if she hasn't been fully vested in the retirement program yet, or she's not eligible to be retired, she can lose her retirement and her pension as well.
Yeah, I would say by looking at her, I want to say she was maybe mid 40s ish.
Yeah, she probably doesn't have enough time in then. She needs to have at least 25, 30 years depending on.
I'd love it if she was like 2-3 years short.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, shit happens, man. I mean, you screw up. There's a lot of people walk on
consequences.
Yeah. And we always called it when you're old enough to retire, but you haven't retired yet. And I hit that when I was 50, but it was, they call it KMA status. Kiss my ass.
Nope.
Meaning if someone tells you to do something you don't want to do, you can go
kiss my ass.
I'm retiring. I'm done.
I'm pretty sure that's what Doc Pete did at 39 years.
That's kind of what I did too.
Yeah.
I got to go back to Washington. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Actually, Doc Pete was asked to come and work on these mass deportations at a pretty high level, like an executive level. And he received 2 offers, but both of would have required him to go back to DC. He was like, yeah, I'm going to take a hard pass on that.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. So next one up, we've got a handful of stories here regarding these rogue judges that are way outside of their purview from a legal perspective. But Trump administration just filed an emergency motion to vacate the ruling that is blocking the review of the Treasury. And that was today, by the way. The separation of powers doctrine protects the president's right to supervise the executive branch, including all politically appointed leaders within the Treasury Department. He will absolutely win this, not to mention the fact that a lot of this stuff, like this isn't USAID, but in the case of USAID, if it's created with an executive order, it can be taken down with an executive order.
Second, it's Article 2 of the Constitution is pretty clear.
Yeah, appreciate
in charge of the executive branch.
Yeah, appreciate that. So we've got all kinds of stuff on these activist judges. One in particular, and this is Engelmeyer, the guy who issued the thing last week that said Trump's own Treasury secretary is not even allowed to access the Treasury systems. He's got not only S2 did a deep dive on this guy. So not only is he deeply tied to the Democrat Party, but he's a very activist judge. This is one that S2 sent where, I mean, anything that's a viable capitalist private industry that lands in front of this guy, he shuts it down. He's pretty aggressive. There was a strange thing that S2 discovered, by the way, that he studied for his law degree at Harvard. And I want to say that his tenure attending classes at Harvard started January the 1st, 1987 and ended on January the 1st, 1987, which is what set S2 off to think, is this like a, you know, an honorary degree that he got? Is he even qualified, you know, to be a judge? But it's a long, deep rabbit hole. I have some stuff on it. I'm going to wait until S2's on so that he can explain it in more detail. I don't want to steal his thunder or anything like that. All right. Next one up. So I got to be careful how much we say on this. By the way, we got a strike last night for last night's episode.
Oh, no.
Because I showed Unit Solutions CO2 powered training rifle. And they said that I violated their firearms policy for that. So if you're going to look,
right. Well, there's no fire in that firearms. It's CO2.
It comes with a letter directly from the ATF saying not only is it not a firearm, it can't be converted to a firearm. They're not serialized. They can be shipped direct.
Yeah.
And so I appealed it, and all you could do is click a button. You can't put any explanation. So I wrote to a few people I know there. I said, hey, could you all connect me with somebody before somebody who knows nothing about guns comes back and makes this, you know, shoots my appeal down? Yeah, about 30 minutes later, I get it back. We've denied your appeal. And I said to the people I know at YouTube, I was like, see, you've got people making decisions. I flat out stated, this is a Unit Solutions training rifle. This is not a real gun, blah, 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 blah. And so we've got 2 YouTube channels. We're sitting on 2 strikes on one and a strike and a warning on the other one now over something just ridiculous like that. So this one here, I want to be careful with anything medical for the time being. Golly, YouTube is such a pain in the nuts. But this is interesting. Medical tyranny. Nurses now forced to perform abortions against their wishes, thanks to another corrupt federal judge. And actually, there he is, right there. Guess who made that decision? Judge Engelmeyer. You see what I mean? It's like one after another. So I'm going to leave the Engelmeyer stuff for now, but his order has no foundation in law. He did not allow Trump or any of Trump's attorneys to attend. It was done ex parte. So it was all done in secret. There's no way that it can stand up. But here's the next one. So this guy now is saying that it doesn't matter if the funding's going to Hamas, Taliban, whoever, you got to start sending the money to everybody who is supposed to get money from USAID.
Nope.
No, just don't do it. What's the judge going to do? Arrest him?
Complete and utter traitors to the country. I don't know how else to describe it. And I saw somebody put something up on Elon's thing, you know, with regards to impeaching these judges, and Elon was like, it's absolutely time to start impeaching these judges. So can't say I disagree with that. And Mike Engelman here makes a good point, you know, so President Trump does not have to abide with lawless judges making unconstitutional rulings with no legal standing against his constitutional and presidential authority as commander-in-chief as it relates to executive power. Where is Pam Bondi's Justice Department? So that decision that Engelmeyer gave quotes absolutely nothing, no statutes, nowhere in the Constitution. There is nothing quoted whatsoever to back up his order that, you know, you're done. You got to give up the keys to the kingdom, and your Treasury Secretary can't access anything, and neither can you.
Well, Biden, you know, the judges said you don't have the legal authority to terminate all these college, these, you know, student loans. And he goes, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And he does it some other way. So Trump needs to say, screw you, I'm doing it anyway. You don't have the authority over me.
I mean, they set the precedent.
Yeah, and then let the Supreme Court, you know, deal with it. Figure it out. It's like, okay, here's the Constitution. Nowhere does it say you have the authority to tell me what to do on this job. So fight me.
Yeah, it's way out there. Actually, I got one more thing here on Engelmeyer. So this guy and his wife, and again, I don't want to steal S2's thunder on this, but his wife's name's Judah Engelmeyer, right down here, pardon me. They're hooked up with Harvey Weinstein and a whole bunch of other people.
Anna Sorokin.
Right. I mean, you're known by the company that you keep, right? And in tight with some pretty scummy people from sexual deviancy, whatever you want to call it.
Epstein in there somewhere too, if you dig.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm gonna get off of that for now because again, I don't want to steal S2's thunder. He did a ton of research on this, and I appreciate that tremendously. So moving on to the next one here. So Musk says FEMA spent $60 million housing illegal immigrants in luxury hotels in 1 week, last week. And this is after Trump said no more money for any of this stuff. Sending this money violated laws and gross insubordination to the president's executive order. That money is meant for American disaster relief. And it's not this page, so it must be one of the next ones. It's not this one, but I'll go to it quickly and I'll get you all to comment because I've got one more with the upside down toilet brush stating last fall that under no circumstances is FEMA given any money to the illegal invaders. 22-second video here. FEMA's just got violating Trump's EO and spending $59 million on hotel stays for illegals. Meanwhile, North Carolina looks like this. All right, so stop that there, and I'm going to go to the next one here. So October 2024, as the election neared, a toilet brush assured Americans that no FEMA funds were being diverted to illegals. Today, Elon Musk exposes FEMA. So let's pull this up.
So disaster relief, this is a falsehood. Disaster relief funds used on immigrants illegally in the U.S. The fact is, no money is being diverted from response needs. That's the fact. So disaster relief, this is a falsehood. Disaster relief funds used on immigrants illegally in the U.S. The fact is, no money is being diverted from response needs.
Jeff, you first, and then Mike.
Well, it's obvious she lied. She always lies. And it's clear that it is. Illegal aliens in the United States is not a disaster. Well, it is, but it's not a natural disaster that the government has to take care of. So, no, she's lying. And the people who release that money and anybody in that chain needs to be fired. And they need to claw back as much as that money as they possibly can from, the hotels or whoever is getting it. But yeah, they need to fire people. I mean, fire a lot of people and come out openly and say, we fired Bill Smith for insubordination because he did X, Y, and Z. Boom. And people will stop doing it when they know that if someone goes, hey, you need to release this money. No, the last guy who did that got fired. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is all going to the Roosevelt Hotel there in Manhattan. And I've stayed at the Roosevelt a while back. It ain't, what did we say? $64 million?
59.8, I think it was.
59.8. Yeah, you could buy that piece of land for $59 million. It's a nice hotel, but it ain't that nice of a hotel.
Yeah.
I think the insinuation is that money went to multiple hotels across the country in 1 week. So not just one hotel, but either way, it doesn't matter. It's still
it's a violation of policy. Fire her very, very publicly, just like Jeff said.
It's absolutely not part of FEMA's purview at all. So, all right, moving on to the next one here. Trump trusts Elon and will to get him to look at the Department of Education and Department of Defense to weed out waste, fraud, and abuse. So we mentioned this over the weekend, but it's actually starting today. This was at 1 p.m. Eastern time today. Minute 38.
Got a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific.
Bottom line, you
I
say you trust him.
trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. But I campaigned on this, Brett.
All right, we'll stop that there. Mike, you get to go first this time, then Jeff.
I mean, this is why we hired the dude. It's turning out even better than I hoped it would be. Take a fire axe to these agencies, and the ones that you don't take a fire axe to, burn them to the ground. Because he's doing exactly what we asked him to do. This is the mandate that the people gave him. And at this point, the only people who don't like the mandate are the mainstream media press, and all the people that are, left-wing politicians who he's messing with their money.
Yeah, anybody who's benefiting.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you've also got you've got all these leftist politicians that are also, their phones are probably on fire for all the people that pay them to make sure that the money keeps flowing.
Yeah.
And you're messing with their money too. Good.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Well, this reminds me of the movie Road to Perdition, where he goes out on the road and he says, I don't want their money. Where he's robbing banks. I want money from these accounts. I want Al Capone's money. And they're like, but Mr. Capone will kill me. He says, fork it over. So he was only stealing the money of the certain people. And those were the ones that were losing their shit. Because, the people who are whining, if you want to know where the corruption is, just look at the people screaming the loudest.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at how crazy Maxine Waters was getting. I mean, that was entertaining watching her just lose her freaking mind. So, yeah.
We've got a video coming up here in chapter 2 of a pastor threatening physical violence over all of this.
Yeah, so,
it's time to shed blood. It's the only way we're going to turn this around. I mean, these are really violent people. But anyway, check this out. The Society for the Study of Evolution responded to Trump's EO on the biology of sex by doubling down on pseudoscience. They falsely assert that sex is not a binary trait, but a combination of traits, and nonsensically drag in gendered expression and lived experience. So this is a letter to U.S. President and Congress on the scientific understanding of sex and gender. Dear President Trump and members of Congress, as scientists, we write to express our concerns about the executive order defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government. That order states first that there are two sexes, which are not changeable. The order goes on to state that sex is determined at conception and is based on the size of the gamete that the resulting individual will produce. These statements are contradicted by extensive scientific evidence.
Yes.
Scientific consensus defines sex in humans as a biological construct that relies on a combination of chromosomes, hormonal balances, and the resulting expression of gonads, external genitalia, and secondary sex characteristics. There is variation in all these biological attributes that make up sex. Accordingly, sex and gendered expression is not a binary trait. While some aspects of sex are bimodal, variation along the continuum of male to female, the continuum, is well documented in humans through hundreds of scientific articles. Such variation is observed at both the genetic level and the individual level, including hormone levels, secondary sexual characteristics, as well as genital morphology.
Yeah,
So that means that your junk can morph into something else, the way I'm reading it. Beyond the incorrect claim that science backs up a simple binary definition of sex, the lived experience of people clearly demonstrates that the genetic composition at conception does not define one's identity. Rather, sex and gender result from the interplay of genetics and environment. Such diversity is a hallmark of biological species, including humans. Blah, 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 blah. Carol Boggs, PhD, President, Society for the Study of Evolution. Jeff?
Well, it's basically saying, who are you going to believe, us or your own eyes? Everybody has known since there have been humans that there are little boy humans and little girl humans, and there's nothing in between. You may have a little effeminate boys. You may have some kind of tough girls, and they may be gay and they may be lesbian, but they're still boys and they're still girls. And the people who do this is like, how stupid do you think we are? Or more importantly, how stupid are you to believe this?
So 2012 Vegas, I got to see Andrew Dice Clay on his comeback tour. He hadn't performed in front of anybody in decades. And we were in the very first show, and we had VIP tickets, and they take us in and they put us in the front row. And I'm looking behind me, and there's all these nice booths and stuff. So the lady comes back with the next people she's escorting in. I said, hey, we got VIP tickets. Can we get one of those booths? And she says, yeah, make me an offer. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, make me an offer. And if it's good enough, I'll let you have it. I said, oh, here's $100. And she moved us back there. So Lisa Lampanelli opened up for the Dice Man. And towards the beginning of her routine, she says, oh, I see we've got some black people in the audience. You all got big dicks. And, you know, people laugh a little bit and stuff like that. And then she says, oh, we have an Asian gentleman here. She says, yeah, I had sex with an Asian gentleman last week. It was my first lesbian experience. This is the stuff that Chris Evans finds humorous. All right. I'm not the only one. Everybody laughed. It was there. All right. Moving on to the next one. They are afraid that their fraud will be discovered. Incitement. The same network of black pastors who incited the George Floyd riots are now calling for violent resistance against President Trump, Elon Musk, and the Doge team. I can't stress how dangerous this coordinated effort is. Watch until the end. 1 minute, 26 seconds.
And in this nation, I'm worried that we are on the verge of bloodshed. This is an attempt to take us back to a day that we do not want to go, and we will not go. So therefore, there will be conflict. I pray that the peace of God will win out and overcome the madness that is attempting to take over this nation. And I will say to you, beloved, no one likes violence, but sometimes violence is necessary. When Elon Musk forces his way into the United States Treasury and threatens to steal your personal information and your Social Security check, there is the possibility of violence. Sometimes the devil will act so ugly that you have no other choice but to get violent and fight. Well, someone might say, now, Reverend, you shouldn't be talking about violence. This isn't the Christian thing to do. Well, I will say, why not talk this way? Because Jesus did. Jesus said in this key verse, didn't he? The kingdom of heaven suffers what? Violence. And the who? The violent take it by force. The kingdom of God is a war zone. It is a battlefield. You did know this, right?
Jeff, your father was a pastor, correct?
Yeah, and my grandfather. And I don't ever remember them preaching violence from the pulpit, just saying.
Well, that's exactly
what happened to you.
Well, you know, black sheep of the family, you know, but yeah, no, yeah,
that's where I was going with it, Michael.
So clearly this guy is smoking the exact same stuff that those 3 PhDs were from the previous. That's just that is ludicrous. The richest man in the world is going to come in and steal your grandma's Social Security check. Really? Come on. Think about that. That guy makes more per minute off of all of his other stuff than he could conceivably scooping that stuff up. What a dirtbag. Ugh. God, come on.
It's bad, man. It's bad.
Oh, you know what? He's right up the road, too.
No comment. Next one up. Senator Mike Lee calls for Ron Paul to be appointed as Federal Reserve Chairman. Do you support this move? Do you all support this move?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Yo, yeah. Oh, it'd be beautiful. Talk about it. Yep.
And they're worried about RFK.
Shh, dude. He would be there long enough to make them bring all the books up in printed form with an electronic backup stacked on top, walk them across to the OMB, turn around and set fire to the building and tell everybody to go home. That'd be the shortest tenure ever.
All right. Okay, next one up. And this post got deleted and put up and deleted and put up. Hopefully this video plays. We have citizen armed checkpoints now in Lincoln Heights, Cincinnati direction.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Look at my baby. What the fuck you talking about? What is you talking about? My baby, that man.
What are they looking for?
Yeah, what these motherfucking dick suckers coming? Fuck on. All right, cool. Let the cars come. Just don't let them people come back no more. I ain't gonna even say Cincinnati, nigga. This Lincoln Heights. Yeah. Yeah.
So I did not have time to dive into that deeper this afternoon and didn't discover what it's even related to. I mean, did either of you catch it? Anybody in the audience catch it?
News to me.
Yeah, no, I didn't see anything. I did now. One thing that I did see just now, I saw a couple of those AR mags. They're not P mags. They're 1522 mags. So yeah. You showed up with a 22 long rifle for roadblock duty. Good for you, boo. But still, nonetheless, what are you guys doing? Who are you keeping out? I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out tonight or tomorrow morning, unless somebody throws something in the chat and lets us know what it is. Next one up from Elon Musk. Guess I better maximize my security. 24 seconds.
You have a Pentagon that has billions of dollars that they hide. We don't ask for any accounting of. They never pass an audit in the history of audits. I've often said the only way we're really going to get to the bottom of this is somebody's going to walk out of one of these labs with this information and puts it out on the internet before they commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head 5 times.
Yep. I don't know if we get much more to add to that.
He said it right. And well, now the Marine Corps just passed their audit recently, but $15 in a pack of Zins. That's their annual budget. So
right.
Yeah.
So this is the same pastor who threatened people at the beginning, and this is Elon Musk responded to it, and that's what prompted that statement of I should probably up it. But anyway, moving on to the next one here. Here's another one. Baltimore Rep Kwesi
Mafumi.
Sure, okay.
Kwesi Mafumi.
Just called for violence by street fighting to stop Trump's agenda on cutting government waste. Another Democrat inciting violence against MAGA and Trump. 12 seconds.
This will be a congressional fight, a constitutional fight, a legal fight, and on days like this, a street fight. Yes, we will stand. This.
His phone's on fire. The people that pay him are angry.
Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah.
Truth. All right. The Ukrainian military is selling American weapon system on the black market, including to drug cartels. This war is killing the United States. Colonel Daniel Davis on how Donald Trump can end it. It's an episode of Tucker Carlson. It's an hour and 5 minutes long. I'm not going to play it. I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. People have been asking, how did our weapons end up in the hands of the cartels? So there's two ways that that's happening. One, the stuff we left behind in Afghanistan has found its way into Hezbollah's hands, and they're joined at the hip with the Sinaloa cartel. So that's one way. And the other way now is there's evidence that Ukraine is actually selling the weapons on the black market to raise more money. So if you go to patreon.com/survival dispatch, sign up for a free account. You can get tonight's situation report that has all of this stuff in it. And you can go watch the videos at your leisure, including this one. Mike, you want to make any comments on this?
Yeah, just, from the point of view from the outside and looking at the gray arms world, I wouldn't say that Ukraine as a nation is selling them. I would say you've got a lot of corrupt individuals there in Ukraine that would be the ones selling them. And that actually makes it a lot more difficult to track down. Yeah. But I would say not as a nation state point. They need everything that they can get. You've got the knuckleheads that are getting in the way of that, so that they can build their golden parachutes to get out of there in case the Russians all of a sudden get a breakthrough.
Yeah. Pretty much every aspect of Ukraine is crooked as a dog's hind leg. Like the largest money laundering deal in the world, tied back USAID amongst other things. So check this out. China has just imposed retaliatory tariffs on $14 billion worth of American goods. $14 billion.
My question is, did they buy any American goods?
Very, very little.
They buy coal from us, I think.
But this is funny, okay?
Wheat. Lots and lots of wheat.
Yeah, but they're just going to raise their own prices.
They're small dollar amounts, though, right? So
14 billion.
Yeah, it's not just 14 billion. Look at this right here. It's a staggering 14 billion. Staggering.
So somebody do mathing real good. Yeah. I mean, 14 billion is nothing.
Our GDP, 30 trillion. I mean, somebody did a comparison. Okay. So they took the number, if you take 1 million seconds and convert it to years, it's like this much in years. Okay. Then you take 1 billion in seconds and it's like this big in years. And then you take 1 trillion and convert it to seconds and it's like this big, sort of thing, right? Like this is a tempest in a teapot, as they say.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we've got such a large trade imbalance with them, just like Canada and Mexico. We're in the driver's seat. They're not.
Yeah.
That's even more money than that's a few billion more than Elon paid in income tax 3 years ago.
Right. Because it's $14 billion.
So somebody, I don't remember, last week, whatever, was carrying on in the chat saying that China's GDP was greater than ours, blah, 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 blah. And it's not. They're about to call it 35% behind us. Actually, like they're not even 2/3 of ours. So they're 19 trillion, we're 30 trillion a year. They come up with this goofy thing called PPP, personal purchasing power. But when you look at their GDP per capita, it's a fraction of us, like an absolute fraction. So, I mean, I threw it in last night just to make the point that our economy is by far the largest in the world. And, this little rinky-dink stuff like that is not going to affect us at all. All right, next one up. Everybody's favorite doctor. Doge takes aim at Dr. Fauci, cancels funding for the Fauci Museum.
Yay. There should never have been a Fauci museum.
Who would go to a Fauci museum?
Fauci.
The only thing I want to see at a Fauci museum is Fauci encased in amber.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, Pfizer executives would go to a Fauci museum and then burn a candle for him and, pour out some liquor for him, But,
Right. So
Cue the Sarah McLachlan music.
Pour one out for my homie.
all right. So this next one up is the last item for chapter 2, and then we're going to go into chapter 3, the funny zany stuff.
And I got to bail after this, so
no problem.
As do I.
I got her to take it home. It's all funny stuff tonight. So Sean Ryan, wait till you hear about Jake Sullivan and Hillary Clinton's emails and how USAID was funding ISIS. I hope the funds have stopped, but yeah, this is going to go supernova. I'll use this just an opportunity to let our audience know we have got Ken Shamrock and Don Mann booked to come on SDN. Looks like it's going to happen this week. We have JJ Carroll back on Sunday evening. We've got a conference call with Ivan Rakin tomorrow, the Minister of Retribution. Holy cow. We've got Patrick Byrne coming on again next week or the following week, a former CEO of Overstock.com, a very notorious Senate Intelligence Committee asset at one point in time. And we've got a couple really high profile J6ers in the same vein as Colton coming on as well. One of them's named Jake. That's why it triggered me on here. Refresh my memory. Who's the Jake guy? Who's a big deal, really famous. Jake Lang. Sorry. So Jake
from State Farm.
Yeah, Jake from State. Yeah, Jake Lang and Cindy Lou Young are coming on, which are they're very prominent J6ers. So we've got some pretty high caliber people coming on here post haste. All right, so that is the end of chapter 2. Fixing to go into chapter 3. Short message from our friends at Flex Industries. Mike,
good night, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. And I will be right back with the balance of chapter 3. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Right.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good one,
AK Flex. AK Flex. The crazy part about this thing, it can fit in all platforms. This right here is in a 9mm. We running in the 7.62, 5.45, short, even in the Draco, the long 16-inch. AK Flex, baby.
So Flex Industries, one of our sponsors here at Survival Dispatch, owned by a good friend of mine. Flexindustries.com. You can get 17% off that trigger and every other trigger that they carry with discount code SD17. S as in Sam, D as in David, 17. They've got some AR triggers, Glock triggers, super cool stuff. New company started up a couple months ago, but a ton of experience in building triggers. Super guys. Would appreciate if you all head over there and patronize their business. All right, next one up. So this is a 6-minute, 24-second video. I'm not going to play the whole video. Go to Patreon and grab our situation report. Tonight's is free, and you have links to all this stuff. But I will play a portion of this because I love this guy's freaking hilarious.
The country is getting much worse under Trump. Like, things are pretty bad.
What do you mean? Things are objectively improving.
No, quit paying attention to Twitter, moron. Just look around and you'll see. Like, for example, the country is more dangerous than it's ever been.
What's he doing that's making it so dangerous?
He's prioritizing the deportation of murderers, rapists, and terrorists.
How does that make the U.S. more dangerous?
Well, for starters, it makes it a less safe space for self-expression, okay? Some of those murderers have families, and some want to kill families. Did you know that murdering is culturally accepted in some places? And what? We're just going to say that's not welcome here?
Yeah.
No.
And what about the sexual offenders being deported who would prey on American women?
Oh, you mean people who would give women attention? And Trump doesn't care if they're murderers or whatever. He just wants them out of here because they're not white like him.
So you're assuming they're not white because they're dangerous criminals?
I didn't say that.
What other improvements do you think are so bad?
Oh, for example, Elon going around cutting wasteful government spending out to reduce the national deficit?
How is that not good?
Well, first, it doesn't matter how big the national deficit is because we can just print more money. No downside. And second, Elon having so much power, it is just wrong for an unelected billionaire to have so much power. Just listen to what Bill Gates, George Soros, Oprah, Alex Soros, and Reid Hoffman say. They've been warning us about this kind of thing. Like, don't be an idiot. It's right in front of you. Oh, and
So if you want to catch the rest of that, like I said, just go grab our sit rep for tonight, and good for a laugh. So here's another unhinged liberal, I guess. TikToker is upset that Trump wasn't assassinated at the Super Bowl.
You know what? After all that hype, nobody got his ass at the Super Bowl? You gotta be fucking kidding me. Where's the fucking team effort? You know?
Hopefully that guy's getting a visit from the authorities. This next one is from our good friend Velcro, one of our prolific insiders, posting all the time. I think it's still missing a couple more optics. Can you imagine the weight of that sucker, by the way? How many ACOGs are on there? How many ACOGs can you fit on one rifle? All right, next one. Oh, it is absolutely not a coincidence that after Trump dismantled USAID and froze foreign funding, Hamas stopped their terrorist payment system. Your tax dollars were indirectly funding terrorism. And look who is upset that money laundering was stopped. Democrats and rhinos. Next one up from Breitbart. Oh, this is freaking hilarious. So this is not too far from me. Suspect in Jacksonville, Florida, chased down by police on horses, 58 seconds.
Yeah, move forward. Hey, come on. Hey, come on. Get in there. Get that bad man. Get that bad man in there. Get it. Get it.
I love that. Get that bad man.
Now, hey, get on the ground. You're gonna get run over. Come on now. Come on now. Get him one. You better stop. You're gonna get hit. Come on now. Bro, you're not gonna be able to run us on the horse. You better stop. Jack, come on now. Run him over, Jack. You better get on the ground right now. Watch it. Get on the ground right now. Get on the ground.
Okay, so that's what cracks me up even more. Look at the gut on this guy, and he was going to outrun a horse. Crazy.
Go ahead and have a seat.
Wow. Special boy right there. And next one up. Winning. El Salvador illegals returning home after their paid vacation in America. Good riddance. 1 minute. Shame. Absolute shame. All right, next one up. Oh my God. This guy is a very fast thinker on his feet. Bro violated her back 13 seconds.
Oh, Nick, it's your car.
Yeah.
Blue.
That's my car.
That's way cooler than yours. Oh.
Well, I bet you his girlfriend's hotter than mine, too. So, how about that?
Oh, Nick, it's your car.
This one fight.
Yeah.
Blue.
That's my car.
That's way cooler than yours. Oh.
Well, I bet you his girlfriend's hotter than mine too. So how about that?
Oh my God. That's too freaking much. All right. So we're done with the videos in chapter 3. We got a good chunk of memes to go through here tonight and other serious messages that are kind of tongue in cheek like this one. The problem isn't that Democrats are unethical, corrupt, criminal, lying dirtbags. Everyone knows that. The problem is that their supporters don't care. Truth. And we showed that one already. This one cracks me up. There's a septic tank pump truck with shit coming out of Nancy Pelosi's mouth. That's about it. Bill Gates said the odds of another pandemic in the next 4 years are 10 to 15%. New pandemic this year. These guys are saying 23%. Bunch of crooks. Check it out. Here's our good friend, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Breaking news. Sues Kansas City to protect children from transgender agenda. So this guy is a combat veteran, put himself through to become an attorney, did not come with a silver spoon in his mouth. Absolutely knocking it out of the park in Missouri. We've had him on Survival Dispatch News. I would anticipate that at some point in the future, he will be our federal attorney general, and rightfully so. All right, here you go. When you're trying to cut back on posting memes, but the government won't stop doing crazy stuff. Why do they make me do this? This is like the Kermit the Frog version of S2. All right, and this is Forgiato Blow. It's a stage name. This is one of Trump's nephews, believe it or not. And we actually have one of his songs to close out tonight's episode at the end. And Jimmy Carter in 1979, I created the Department of Education. Since then, America went from first, it said 24th, I had to edit it, to 40th in education globally. Absolutely disgusting. If Democrats actually believe Black Lives Matter, they would not propagate failed urban policies which proliferate black-on-black violence. You think? And Elon Scissorhands, there will be cuts. That one's actually pretty brilliant. I know we Gen Xers take a lot of shit, but you have to admit our sneering distrust of everything turned out to be 100% correct. Yes, it did. Democrats protesting defunding USAID. You are trying to take what I have rightfully stolen. That pretty much sums it up right there. So do you ever go down any rabbit holes? Me. That is some funny shit. That's a big ass rabbit. All right. And this is latest addition to Air Force One, since big balls are the in thing right now in DC. For anybody who doesn't know what that's referencing, that's Elon Musk's, one of his 19-year-old whiz kids goes by the handle online of Big Balls, and CNN and all the other legacy media folks got all bent out of shape over it and took it very seriously. We actually had an AI generated picture of Elon Musk with a set of testicles in his hands last night. And I got all kinds of crazy messages that we were idiots because men can't breastfeed. Somebody else said that shame on us for making fun of Elon. We weren't making fun of Elon at all. Elon's guy, he's got big balls, but that's the one thing we've mentioned repeatedly. Those of us who are patriotic, conservatives, libertarians, lowercase L, MAGA, whatever you want to call it. We're not Democrats and we're not Republicans. We have a sense of humor, but the people on the other side, they can't detect bullshit. They can't detect humor. And 62% of white women registered Democrats admittedly take SSRIs. And the number, if that's what they admit to, it's probably more like 82%. All right. To everyone about to get fired in DC, learn to cope. That's what Joe told the 10,000 pipeline workers. He fired on day one. Keystone XL. All right. USAID corruption story is the worst government corruption story ever. Wrong. It's the worst government corruption story so far. Tip of the iceberg. And when Big Balls comes back, that's checkmate. And he's referring to his employee who goes by the name Big Balls. S2 would like this one. Who knows? Maybe I even got this from S2. The look on Antifa's face when you realize Trump supporters are combat vets and what you learned on Xbox doesn't work. And here's a note from George Washington back from the grave. Hello, peasants. I was rolling around in my grave and I have decided to resurrect great things to come. Amen to that. Get your Pfizer feet pajamas before they're sold out. These two clowns, loudmouths. First it was 1.5 million for Bernie from Pfizer and somewhere around $1 million for Hiawatha here. And in reality, somebody went and gathered all of the contributions up, and 24 million for Bernie and somewhere just south of 20 million for Hiawatha. Bunch of just bad actors, bad actors. Here's your solution to Gaza. 2 million displaced people. China, 65 million vacant homes. So China has a big problem right now. Their economy has been imploding the past couple of years, and they've got these turnkey cities that have nobody in them but custodians because somewhere around 60% of their plants are shut down. They like to say 60% are running, 40 are shut down, but the people I know who have feet on the ground there, who go there for business purposes, say it's the exact opposite. 60% of their plants are closed, and they got caught with their pants down. They built all these turnkey cities. There's nobody to live in them. So before we gave up our IP to China and they start stealing it in the 80s, they were a nation of farmers, and that's what they've done. Many of them have gone back to the country to go back and farm so they can put food on the plate. I support Kash Patel, but Peter, he posted a video of himself launching Adam Schiff out of a trebuchet. I already support him. You don't have to sell me. And if you all didn't see that, oh my God, the righteous indignation again from these clowns. Kash Patel, he's not a legitimate candidate for director of the FBI, because of essentially joking around. All right. And this is the guy who, private contractor guarding the Department of Education, refusing to let the Democrats enter last week. And you can see by the look on his face, again, chapter 3, not safe for work language or youngins or anything like that, but the I don't give a fuck look on his face. All right. Joe Biden, you don't smell like a woman. Well, if anybody would know. And I just bought my daughter's very first rape whistle. Well done, sir. All right. When you try to help the kids in need, but they're all racist. Oh my God. Golly. Before the internet, these people would take your order, write down an address, and deliver a pizza to your home in less than 30 minutes by using a paper map like some sort of mystical land pirate. Imagine that. Back in the good old days. Two things about this picture. Why are they all in the same bathroom at once? 2, I didn't expect Nancy Pelosi to have a reflection. So that's actually a good question. I don't know if this comes from J6 or what it is, but you've got a bunch of bad actors here. Schiff and Jerry, what's his name? Sloppy dude. And this is what's been going on in Britain for a few years now. We saw your meme, step outside. They threw 3,000 hardened criminals out of prison last year, early release, so they could put 3,000 people in jail who posted something online that caused somebody anxiety or hurt their feelings. Again, NSFW language, chapter 3, they're fucked in the head. They're absolutely fucked in the head. And the head of the Metro UK police said last year that if we as Americans post anything that hurts somebody's feelings, causes them anxiety, he's going to have us extradited. Yeah, he's going to have us extradited to be tried, convicted, and incarcerated in Great Britain. Clearly did not learn the lesson from this year. All right, next one up. We must stop Elon Musk from exposing our corruption. Too late. Cat's out of the bag. Don't shoot me. I'm retarded. Prove it. I oppose Elon Musk exposing fraud and waste of taxpayer dollars. Pretty much. All right. Rural America, we are coming. Rural America. Yeah, bring it on. Trump cures cancer. Curing cancer is racist. We have the right to die from cancer. We want our cancer back. Anything that Donald Trump does that's positive, these clueless people fight it. Wait, so people can say whatever they want? Yeah. Oh, let's give them guns. Laughing my ass off. This country's going to be lit. No doubt. All right. And most diverse fire department ever. In case y'all didn't catch that in the LA fires, one of the higher ups said something along the lines of, she was a big lesbian, and that when somebody needs help, they like to see somebody who looks like them and acts like them to save them. So some people were joking around with it, saying, well, if you're gay and somebody gay doesn't show up to rescue you, then what do you just stay in the fire? And people who are obsessed with celebrities may be less intelligent, studies suggest. I actually read this, and it was pretty crazy. Now, the good news is only 17% of Americans give a shit what anybody in the entertainment industry says from a political perspective. So I'm not having a hard time believing it. Like I said, it was a short article. I read it. I would endorse the idea. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I am a things aren't adding up and it's pretty obvious theorist. Amen to that. Not one single person who paid to rape children on Epstein's Island has been arrested. Yeah, I mean, that's got to come to some sort of head in Trump's tenure here. And two different sides of the same coin for you right there. UN, Hamas, terrorists, they're all against us. Oh my God, this is funny. From a young age, I was prepared for the world to be dangerous and evil, but I was never prepared for it to also be retarded. He kind of reminds me of like that monster Tweety on Looney Tunes back when we were kids in the 70s. And 0 million, the amount of foreign aid flowing from Ukraine, Israel, Europe, Mexico, and Canada to help us. The Canadians charged us to use their super scooper planes, and they won't let anybody else have anything similar because of patents. Instead of the Super Bowl, I'd rather watch 4 hours of Tom Homan deporting illegals. Yeah, that's a mouthful there. We gave up on NFL years ago. We would go to Jacksonville, Tampa games, nothing but a bunch of drunks getting in fist fights. Not an enjoyable experience. Then they start out with, with the taking a knee, not standing for the national anthem and the BLM bullshit. And, now they're playing the Black national anthem. No such freaking thing. We are one America under one flag and one national anthem. Stop trying to divide us, Obama. Libs of TikTok. Trump gets massive cheers at the Super Bowl while Taylor Swift gets booed. I did watch the highlights on that afterwards. The world is healing. Donald Trump put a truth up. The only one that had a tougher night than the Kansas City Chief was Taylor Swift. She got booed out of the stadium. Mega is very unforgiving. Yes, and let me tell you why my political views are saner than yours. Even got his estrogen in his hand there. New executive order from Trump banning shitty halftime shows from this day forward. Didn't watch it. Not a single one of these assholes is screaming about the corrupt misuse of our tax dollars at USAID. They're only screaming about Trump-appointed Musk exposing it and shutting it down. That alone is all you need to see about the Democrat Party. Never forget this. It's good advice here. Don't treat people as bad as they are. Treat them as good as you are. That's a good policy. This infestation is worse than I thought. Bugs? No, bureaucrats. Yeah. Governor Pritzker from Illinois. J.D. Vance is saying the quiet part out loud. The Trump administration intends to break the law. America is a nation of laws. The courts make sure we follow the laws. The VP doesn't control the courts, and the president cannot ignore the Constitution. No one is above the law. Elon Musk's response to it, have you considered Ozempic? And we already looked at that one. Somebody, a little bit of a faux pas here, put a piece of paper in the window of a restaurant, kitchen hand job available. Hand washing, I guess. And this is the revised Mount Rushmore that's coming. The hairpiece is already there, actually. When you look at Mount Rushmore today, you can clearly see the comb over. All right, Daniel Goldman. So this is the asshole who's got $30 million stashed in an offshore account, kickbacks from USAID and Lord knows wherever else. It wasn't just a freeze on Elon Musk and Doge accessing Americans' personal data. He was ordered to destroy any data they already took. Elon Musk confirmed he has followed the court order. Elon's response: we don't have any personal data of Americans, you corrupt moron. Truth. And Donald Trump. This is the sort of data you won't see on legacy news because it makes Trump look smart. And again, this is what I mentioned earlier tonight is also applicable in terms of China. Mexico exports to U.S. as a percentage of their GDP, 35%. Over 1/3 of their economy is based on sending stuff to us. Canada, 22% of their GDP. Reversing it, 1.5% of our GDP gets exported to Canada, 1.2% to Mexico. They can tariff those little numbers all they want. We're in the driver's seat. We got the big stick. They don't. JD Vance, if a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct a military operation, that would be illegal. If a judge tried to command the attorney general on how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. It's going to be a battle this entire second term, but we will prevail. This is crazy because that Margaret girl, frankly, Margaret, I don't care what you think, that interviewed JD Vance, she had to read these off on air. So this is CBS's own poll. 69% described Donald Trump as tough, 63% energetic, 60% focused, 58% effective. Some of the sheeple are finally waking up. And look at this. This is a very successful Musk Tesla protest. So I see 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 people from that direction. I did see a video showing the other direction, and there's about the equal amount on this side as well, but it's a joke. All right. From Donald Trump again. For far too long, the United States has minted pennies, which literally cost us more than 2 cents. This is so wasteful. I've instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. Let's rip the waste out of our great nation's budget, even if it's a penny at a time. All right. So that is the end of memes for tonight. We're going to hit up some homework. So we like to assign homework so that we are not just perceived as another podcast of talking heads, and that y'all can actually do something about whatever it is going on in the world. So in that vein, our main topic tonight, of course, was Colton McAbee and the injustice that has been inflicted upon him and other J6ers, the vast majority of whom did not do anything illegal. So what can y'all do in light of that topic to be part of the solution? Well, number one, continue advocating on behalf of all J6ers who suffered terrible injustice, especially those who are still incarcerated. There's still a handful incarcerated, and you got people playing games with them, and it's complete bullshit. Number two, be vocal and speak out against the false J6 narrative spun by the Democrats and the propaganda spread by legacy media. Joe Biden, I went to 6 cop funerals from J6. No cops were killed, J6. Nobody on our side killed anybody. Michael Byrd on the other side shot and killed Ashley Babbitt. The whole thing is one big fabricated lie. It doesn't take much to confirm that. If you think otherwise, go do the research. It ain't complicated. It was all orchestrated by Nancy Pelosi. And number three, help spread the truth about J6 by sharing SDN and other truth tellers on your socials and in your circles. And that's it for our homework as far as things you can do to contribute towards the J6er injustices. Quick reminder, patreon.com/survival dispatch. Sign up for free membership. You get 50% of our daily sit reps. Pay $9.99 a month. You get all of our daily sit reps, highly curated daily newspaper. Could be anywhere from 50 to 170 pages long. A lot of that would be memes when you get into 170 pages. We consume everything from far left to far right, everything in between, connect the dots, follow the money, and we put out the truth. So tonight we're on episode 396. For the longest time, Survival Dispatch was once a week, then it was twice a week, and eventually went to 7 days a week. We've had to retract 2 stories in that entire time, 2 reports, pardon me. So we've got a pretty decent track record of doing the research. Today's sit rep, for example, between myself, Grace, S2, and a couple other people, we probably got about 12 man hours into today's brief. And if you pay the $9.99, you also get access to our Signal chat, which is off the chain for the volume of intel and information that's served in there. There's other extras as well, but patreon.com/survival dispatch. All right. Conflicted question of the night. What's an unconventional or lesser known prepping strategy you've adopted that you think everyone should consider? Well, this wasn't my idea. This was from Keith Graves, our friend at Christian Warrior Training. He was the first one who said to us, said to me in particular, that if the shit hits the fan, and that could be everything from having a flat tire on a backcountry road in the middle of the night to Armageddon and everything in between, and somebody came to your door, a neighbor, a friend, whatever the case may be, and they had no preps and they were hungry, etc., he has charity bags prepared to give them that doesn't cut into the stash for his family, to at least get them through that initial shock of the shit hitting the fan. And that's a really good policy. He also has some spare guns. I mean, you can buy used Glock 19s for a song and a dance, with some ammo for, maybe somebody who didn't stack up on that. Very Christian, process that Keith came up with. And it's probably the best unconventional prepping strategy that we've adopted in our circle that everybody should consider. Because think of it, your neighbor comes to you and you tell them too bad, so sad. Well, we're never more than 3 missed meals away from anarchy. And when does it get to the point where that guy ends up coming back in the middle of the night and shooting you and your family to take what you've got? I mean, people will do crazy things. Look at Friday the 13th. People will beat the tar out of each other for a TV on special. What do you think they're going to do if there's no food on the grocery shelves and they hadn't eaten? There's many people. As a matter of fact, we noticed this on some initial episodes of Survival Dispatch News where people would say, well, we don't prep. I'm not going to prep. And if the shit hits the fan, I'm just going to take whatever we need by gunpoint. You can probably chalk some of that up to being internet bravado, but some of that is people telling you who they are and what they're really going to do. Pretty brutal. So that is it for tonight's episode. We will be back at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. As I mentioned, we've got Ken Shamrock and Don Mann coming on together imminently, probably sometime this week. We've got Patrick Byrne coming back, former CEO of Overstock, very notorious Senate Intel Committee asset. At one point in time, the guy has been involved in the highest level inner workings of both the Trump admin as well as Obama. Obama tried to put some stuff over on him, basically forced him to do some stuff. Didn't directly hurt anybody, but we're talking intelligence gathering, things that he didn't want to do. It's a long story. I'll let him tell his own story. We got JJ Carroll coming back Sunday evening. He's launching a book next week. So that's thisistreason.com. The documentaries he's produced, that's not the name of the book. We've got Jake Lang and Cindy Lou. Golly, my sometimer's kicking in. Cindy Lou Young, 2 very prominent J6ers coming on. Got a call with Ivan Rakin tomorrow, the Minister of Retribution. Hopefully we get him on over the next week or so. But we got a bunch of pretty high caliber guests coming on scheduled over the next week or two. Until tomorrow night, please like, share, comment, subscribe. God bless America. And hang out for the video here. It's a good one tonight.
country, they can't take that away. Against all odds, he made fortune and fame. Legendary. Us patriots won't let you lock him away. Trump say the USA loves his country. Trump say the USA. Red, white, and blue. Trump say the USA. Greatest. Trump, he say the USA. Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Red, white, and blue. 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 Working hard, fighting with Uncle Sam. Working hard. Leave your family and go fight for the land. Freedom. You Democrats scared of the orange man. No politician, Trump's a businessman. Red, white, and blue, that's all the DJ was playing. We won't let you liberals cheat us again. So we fight for the right Republican Party. Vote Donald Trump. USA, land of the free. USA, home of the brave. From the land of the free and the brave. USA, I love my country, they can't take that away. Against all odds, he made fortune and fame. Legendary. Us patriots won't let you lock him away. Trump say the USA loves his country. Trump say the USA. Trump say the USA. Greatest. Trump, he say the USA. Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Red, white, and blue. 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 He built it up, now they burning it down. A fallen country faded right to the ground. Americans be crying, tears falling down. Tears of joy. MAGA nation screaming loud and proud. Make America great again. Make America great again. Make America great again. Make America great again.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now.
From the land of the free and the brave. USA, I love my country, they can't take that away. Against all odds, he made fortune and fame.